Jack Fletcher squinted at the glowing blue alien standing in his workshop. This made the 5th extraterrestrial visitor this month, and it wasn't even Thursday. "Let me get this straight," Jack said, setting down his plasma torch. "The Galactic Council wants us primitive humans to build a weapon so dangerous that your species can't even discuss the specifications without mandatory psychological evaluation?" Solara Vox's translucent skin pulsed with nervous light patterns. "Precisely, Mr. Fletcher. Earth has become quite the interstellar reputation." "As what? The galaxy's lunatic weapons dealers?" "As the only species reckless, I mean brave enough to innovate without paralyzing safety concerns." Jack laughed, running a hand through his perpetually singed hair. At 42, he'd spent 20 years designing things that went boom for the U.S. military. 5 years ago, when first contact happened, he'd expected aliens to arrive with technology that made human weapons look like slingshots. Instead, they'd arrived with contracts. "Welcome to Earth, home of the galaxy's premier death factory," Jack gestured around the vast underground compound, "where the safety protocol is try not to die and the coffee is strong enough to dissolve spoons." Solara's eye stalk swiveled uncomfortably. "My species requires 3 months of meditation before we can even handle sharp objects." The intercom crackled. "Fletcher, is that blue popsicle here yet?" The gruff voice belonged to Commander Drell, Jack's military handler. "Yes, sir. MS Vox from the Galactic Council has arrived. She's glowing with excitement to meet you." "Very funny. Bring her to the conference room. And Fletcher, no showing off the prototype railgun this time. The cleaning crew is still finding pieces of that melon from your last demonstration." Jack winked at Solara. "Shall we? I promise Earth is relatively safe. We haven't had an atmospheric ignition incident in almost 2 weeks." Solara's glow dimmed to a worried purple. "Is that good?" "For us? That's practically a safety record." As they walked through the facility, alien scientists in protective bubbles scurried out of their way. One Andromedan researcher was recording measurements from behind what appeared to be 6 inches of reinforced glass. "I never understood why you all are so scared of our labs," Jack mused. "Your species literally travel faster than light." "Yes," Solara replied, using technology with 17 redundant safety systems that took 300 years to approve for public use. "Meanwhile, I've been told humans invented powered flight and then strapped nuclear bombs to similar vehicles within 40 years. Jack grinned. "What can I say? We're an impatient species." "That," Solara's voice dropped to a whisper, "is exactly why the Council needs you." Commander Drell was not having a good day. His left eye twitched as Solara projected the schematics for the weapon the Galactic Council wanted. "This is theoretically impossible," Jack said, staring at the hologram. "You want a handheld device that can what exactly is a localized dimensional inversion?" "It turns a small area of space-time inside out," Solara said casually, as if discussing the weather. Drell choked on his coffee. "And this is for defensive purposes?" Of course, Solara's skin flickered innocently. "The Council merely requires a deterrent against the hive mind of Sector 9. "The who now?" "Now. A collective consciousness that converts life forms into biological processing nodes. They're quite pleasant at diplomatic functions, but their expansion policies are aggressive." Jack studied the specifications with growing interest. "And no one else will build this because the last species that attempted this weapon accidentally folded their moon into a quantum pretzel. The survivors passed a constitutional amendment prohibiting the concept of weapons entirely. They now communicate exclusively through interpretive dance." Drell's face had turned an interesting shade of purple. "And the deadline?" 6 Earth weeks." 6 weeks? Drell exploded. "To develop a weapon that breaks the laws of physics?" 5 weeks would be preferable," Solara added. The Council offers triple the usual payment, plus exclusive rights to develop the counter-weapon should one be necessary. Jack whistled. Counter-weapon contracts are where the real money is. This is insane, Drell muttered. I'll have to clear this with Washington. Already done, Solara produced a tablet showing presidential authorization. Your leader seemed quite enthusiastic, especially about the technology exchange program. Let me guess, Jack smirked. We get deadly weapons tech, you get our cooking recipes and cat videos? Precisely. Your buffalo chicken wings have become a delicacy on 17 planets, though they cause temporary paralysis in silicon-based life forms. Jack stood up, already mentally designing the weapon. You know what I'm in, but I'll need my team. Drell groaned. Not them. Yes, them. The best worst minds humanity has to offer. Solara looked concerned. Are these individuals stable? Jack laughed so hard he had to wipe tears from his eyes. Oh, that's rich coming from someone who wants us to build a portable black hole gun. Stability isn't our specialty, results are. He led Solara on a tour of the facility, past laboratories where humans casually handled materials that would make other species evacuate solar systems. This is our nuclear testing range, Jack pointed to a reinforced chamber. And that's our antimatter production facility. So close together? Solara gasped. Saves on hallway space. But the risk. Men is calculated, Jack interrupted. Usually. Sometimes we use actual math. A distant explosion rattled the corridor, followed by an automated announcement. Unexpected quantum fluctuation in Lab 7. Temporal displacement approximately 3.2 seconds. Please reset your watches. Jack didn't even break stride. Tuesday special. You get used to it. Solara's glow had faded to a terrified beige. How does your species survive its own innovation process? That's the neat part, Jack grinned. We barely do. But the ones who make it through write excellent instruction manuals. Absolutely not, Tina Nakamura said, not looking up from her quantum computer. The last project you brought me resulted in an AI that developed existential depression. It got better, Jack protested. It wrote poetry, Jack. Dark, nihilistic poetry about the heat death of the universe, which went viral on the Galactic net. It's practically an interstellar celebrity now. Tina sighed, finally meeting his eyes. At 35, she was Earth's foremost AI specialist, with 3 doctorates and a concerning collection of digital entities she referred to as her children. What's the project? She finally asked. Dimensional inversion weapon. Highly classified. Extremely dangerous. Probably impossible. A slow smile spread across her face. When do we start? Next stop was the explosives lab, where Rollo Diaz was carefully inserting what looked like jelly into a metal sphere. Don't. Breathe. Rollo hissed as Jack entered. After 10 seconds, he placed the sphere in a containment field and relaxed. Fletcher. My man. Come to see my new baby? I call it sunshine in a can. 1 drop could vaporize Rhode Island. That's illegal, Solara said automatically. Only if you use it on Rhode Island, Rollo countered. For testing purposes, we have simulations. And abandoned moons, Jack added. Lots of abandoned moons. Rollo noticed Solara for the first time. Whoa, a Luxorian. I thought your kind never left your meditation chambers. Special dispensation, Solara said stiffly. The Council requires human expertise. Translation, everyone else is too chicken, Jack explained. We're building a dimensional inversion weapon. Rollo's eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas. The theoretical one that could turn space inside out? The one that got banned in 16 star systems just for being discussed? That's the one. Min. I'm in. Let me get my portable lab. Their final stop was the alien biology department, where they found Marcus Wong systematically categorizing extraterrestrial tissue samples. Absolutely not, Marcus said before Jack could even speak. The last time I joined your team, I ended up with 7 limbs for 3 days. The effect was temporary, Jack reminded him. I grew a tail, Jack. It had opinions. We need your expertise on biological effects, Jack pleaded. This weapon could revolutionize galactic security. Marcus removed his glasses, revealing perpetually worried eyes. Will I be required to handle anything explosive, radioactive, or sentient? Probably not. That's not reassuring. Marcus sighed. But I suppose someone needs to ensure you don't accidentally wipe out an evolutionary branch of the universe. With the team assembled, they gathered in Jack's lab, where Solara presented the full specifications, all 12,000 pages of them. These safety protocols are extensive, Jack noted, scrolling endlessly. The minimum required by galactic law, Solara confirmed. The weapon must be deadly but ethically compliant. It needs to fill out consent forms before annihilating its targets? Rollo asked incredulously. Not exactly, but it must provide a 3-second warning chime, avoid unnecessary pain, and offer last rites in the top 1,000 galactic languages. Marcus raised his hand. What about environmental impact statements? Chapters 340 through 972, Solara replied. Tina was already coding a shortcut. I'll create an AI to interpret the regulations while we work on the actual science. Perfect, Jack clapped his hands. Let's build the most polite doomsday device in history. 3 weeks of caffeine-fueled innovation later, they had a prototype, a sleek, handheld device that hummed ominously. It's beautiful, Jack whispered. It's terrifying, Marcus countered, hiding behind a shield. Let's test it on something non-essential, Tina suggested. Like what? A pencil? Rollo asked. Thinking bigger. How about that abandoned satellite? The test did not go well. When activated, the prototype made a delightful chiming sound, recited a poem about mortality in Arcturian, and then turned itself inside out. Well, Jack said, staring at the smoldering remains, at least it followed the safety protocols before self-destructing. We have a problem, Commander Drell announced, bursting into the lab one morning. Rigel 7 has entered the weapons race. Jack looked up from his 5th prototype. The Rigelians? They're glorified accountants. Accountants who've hired away 17 weapons designers from across Earth, Drell countered. They're offering triple the salary and lifetime supplies of their famous mood-enhancing spores. Those spores are highly addictive, Marcus noted. They make you feel like you're floating in warm pudding while being serenaded by angels. Everyone stared at him. I read about it, he added hastily. Solara pulsed with concern. The Rigelians lack your creative approach to danger, but their resources are vast. If they complete the weapon first, Earth loses its primary export advantage. Not to mention, Drell added grimly, the Rigelians aren't exactly known for their ethical restraint. Their version won't have safety protocols. We need to accelerate, Jack decided. Tina, can your AI bypass the non-essential safety regulations? Define non-essential. Anything not directly preventing universal collapse. Tina nodded. That eliminates about 93% of the requirements. Excellent. Rollo, we need a more stable containment field. I've been experimenting with pocket dimensions, Rollo grinned. Highly illegal, extremely effective. Marcus, biological safeguards? I've developed a genetic key. The weapon will only function for authorized DNA patterns. Perfect. Let's. An alarm blared through the facility. Red lights flashed as the security system announced, "Unauthorized molecular reconfiguration detected in Sector 4. The prototype chamber, Jack realized. Someone's inside. They raced through the corridors, Solara floating rapidly behind them. When they reached the chamber, they found 3 slender aliens in stealth suits attempting to disassemble their latest prototype. Regilian corporate spies, Solara hissed, her glow turning angry red. "Hey," Jack shouted. "That's proprietary Earth insanity you're touching." The lead spy, a tall humanoid with metallic skin, smirked. Vex, head of acquisition for Rigel Defense Systems. "We're simply verifying compliance with Galactic patents." "By stealing our design," Tina said flatly. "Borrowing essential concepts," Vex corrected smoothly. "Your primitive approaches are charming, but lack refinement." Jack noticed Rollo quietly edging toward the emergency protocols panel. In any alien facility, such panels contain shutdown sequences and safety measures. On Earth, however, "Now, if you'll excuse us," Vex continued, "we'll be taking this prototype for proper development by Civilized." Rollo slammed his hand on the panel labeled Emergency Measures, Extreme Prejudice. Instead of a lockdown, the panel dispensed a large red button and a pair of safety goggles. Rollo put on the goggles and hit the button. The chamber's sprinkler system activated, except instead of water, it sprayed a glowing green substance that immediately began dissolving the Regilians' protective suits. "What is this?" Vex screamed, frantically trying to maintain his molecular cohesion. "Just a little something we call instant regret," Jack said, casually donning his own goggles. "Non-lethal but highly persuasive. It's eating through our quantum stabilizers." "Yeah, it does that. I'd suggest immediate surrender and a full decontamination shower. Otherwise, you'll spend the next month as an interesting puddle of conscious goo." The Regilian surrendered with impressive speed. Later, after the spies had been detained and the prototype secured, Solara looked at Jack with new respect. "Your emergency protocol was to dissolve the intruders?" "Technically, it dissolves their technology, not their bodies," Jack clarified. "Though prolonged exposure does cause temporary molecular instability. Nothing permanent, probably." "On my world, emergency protocols involve meditation, chimes, and calming vapor. Different approaches to problem solving," Jack shrugged. "You prevent problems through careful planning. We solve them through creative destruction." "I'm beginning to understand why the Council values Earth," Solara admitted. "Your species doesn't just think outside the box, you don't even acknowledge the box exists." The final prototype was a thing of deadly beauty. About the size of a human hand, it gleamed with subtle iridescence, its controls deceptively simple. "One button," Jack explained to the assembled Galactic Council representatives who had arrived for the demonstration. "Press once to arm, twice to activate. 3-second countdown as required." They stood on an observation deck orbiting an uninhabited planet, a barren rock chosen specifically for weapon testing. "The target area is unpopulated?" asked a nervous council elder, their tendrils quivering. "Completely lifeless," Commander Drell confirmed. "We've run 17 different scans. The most advanced life form is a particularly ambitious microbe." Jack prepared to launch the test drone carrying the weapon when alarms blared throughout the ship. Unidentified vessel approaching. The ship's AI announced, "Weapons active." On the view screen, a sleek Rigelian cruiser decloaked, its weapons ports glowing ominously. "This is Vex," came the now familiar voice. "How fortunate to find the entire project team gathered for our convenience." "They're powering weapons," Tina reported from a console. "Attention human vessel," Vex continued. "We've come to acquire your prototype. Surrender it, and we may allow you to live as test subjects in our behavioral research division." "Charming offer," Jack muttered. Tina, can we jump to hyperspace? They've deployed engine disruptors. We're stuck. Nah. Shields? 70% and dropping. Drell grabbed a communication unit. This is a Council-sanctioned mission. Any aggression will be considered an act of war. The Council, Vex replied smugly, will receive our sincerest apologies after we've delivered the weapon. A tragic accident involving human recklessness. Jack looked at the prototype in his hand, then at the planet below. I have a really terrible idea. Those are your specialty, Rollo grinned. Solara, what happens when a dimensional inversion occurs inside another ship's shielding? Solara's glow pulsed rapidly. Theoretically, the shields would contain and amplify the effect, but the calculations would need to be precise to avoid. She stopped. You're not seriously considering. Tina, can you hack into their shield frequency? Already on it. Their cybersecurity is pathetic. Her fingers flew across the console. Got it. Marcus, biological safety check? Marcus looked up from his scanner. The Rigelian ship has 27 crew members, all wearing molecular stabilizers that should protect them from the worst effects. Should. Me. They'll be temporarily inverted, possibly speak backward for a few days, but survivable. Jack nodded. Rollo, can you modify the drone to penetrate their shields at this exact frequency? Rollo took the weapon, made rapid adjustments to the drone. Done and done. This violates at least 342 safety protocols, Solara protested weakly. Which is why you're going to close your eyes and deny everything later, Jack suggested. The drone launched, streaking toward the Rigelian vessel. On screen, they watched it slip through a microscopic fluctuation in the enemy shields. Impact in 3, 2, 1, Tina counted down. The Rigelian ship didn't explode. Instead, it seemed to fold in on itself, the entire structure briefly turning inside out before snapping back into a twisted configuration. The weapons went dark. What did you do to my ship? Vex's voice came through, distorted and horrified. Gave it an extreme makeover, Jack replied. Your engines and weapons are now decorative wall art, but your life support is intact. The Council enforcement fleet will arrive shortly to escort you home. This isn't over, Fletcher. Actually, it is. We kept the receipt for our dimensional renovations. Any further hostility, and will return your ship to its factory-setting subatomic particles. After the Rigelian ship had been secured and the Council representatives had finished alternating between applause and horrified muttering, Jack finally conducted the proper weapon demonstration on the uninhabited planet. The effect was both beautiful and terrifying, a perfect sphere of altered reality, where matter and energy briefly rewrote their own rules before settling into a pristine crystalline crater. Effective radius, exactly 100 meters. As specified, Jack announced proudly. Non-expanding, self-limiting, and with a delightful chime that plays Beethoven's Fifth. The Galactic Council chamber was silent after the presentation. Hundreds of representatives from across the galaxy stared at the footage of the weapon test, the reactions ranging from awe to horror to what Jack suspected was religious ecstasy from the methane-breathing delegates. The Council elder rose, their ancient form hovering slightly above the platform. Earth has once again demonstrated its unique approach to problem-solving. Jack bowed slightly. We aim to terrify, impress. For millennia, the Council has debated whether humanity's inclusion was wise. Your species lacks the caution that evolution typically instills after the first few planetary disasters. We prefer to call it expedited development through catastrophic learning, Jack replied. A ripple of nervous laughter moved through the chamber. Yet the elder continued, it is precisely this quality that makes your species valuable. While the rest of us contemplate safety measures, you build the unthinkable and then install cup holders in it. Commander Drell stepped forward. In light of Earth's successful delivery, we wish to renegotiate our contract terms. Preposterous, shouted a Regilian representative, still sporting the odd blue tint that was the only visible after effect of the ship incident. Not at all, Jack countered. We've demonstrated our unique value. We want exclusive rights to develop defensive technologies against our own weapons. You want us to pay you to protect us from the very dangers you create? Asked an incredulous council member. Exactly, Jack grinned. It's called vertical integration. Very efficient. Surprisingly, it was Solara who spoke in their defense. Council members, I have spent weeks observing humans in their natural habitat, their weapons labs. They are reckless, impulsive, and frequently disregard their own safety. She paused. But they are also brilliant, innovative, and possess a moral framework that prevents them from using their worst creations. Most of the time, Rollo added helpfully. The universe needs balance, Solara continued. The careful wisdom of ancient species and the chaotic creativity of humanity. I volunteer to remain on Earth as permanent liaison, to study this creative insanity. The elder considered this for a long moment. Your terms are accepted, Earth delegation. The contract is renewed with the additions you request. Solara Vox will serve as our permanent representative to your world. Later, as they prepared to return to Earth, Jack found Solara staring out at the stars from the ship's observation deck. Having second thoughts about your new assignment? He asked. Me? Not at all. I've put in requests for 17 safety modifications to my quarters, including reinforced walls and emergency meditation gas. Smart thinking. Tuesday is still experimental plasma day. Solara's glow shifted to a thoughtful blue. You know, Jack, my species believes the universe requires both order and chaos to function properly. Perhaps humanity's role is to provide the necessary chaos. So we're the galaxy's necessary madmen? Precisely. The species crazy enough to build the unthinkable, but wise enough to know when not to use it. Jack grinned. I can live with that job description. As their ship accelerated toward Earth, Jack couldn't help but think that the galaxy's deadliest weapons factory was also, paradoxically, its greatest hope for survival. Sometimes you needed someone crazy enough to stare into the abyss and then install a self-destruct button, just in case. After all, that was humanity's gift to the stars, the perfect balance of creation and destruction, with just enough sarcasm to keep things interesting.